Catherine, how does it feel to see this baby that is your life's work shared with the world in this incredible way?
Well, you couldn't have asked for or dreamed about something as extraordinary as this film has been. 8 years in its building. Many different scripts that didn't seem to be the right one, as you know only too well, to finally be what this is. And what excited me was that it highlights the 4 basic cornerstones that this program started with. Nurture the creativity in any individual in the room. That doesn't mean the arts alone. It just means help them build their own identities, their own authenticity. Number 2, break down the stereotypes that exist in prison as they do on the outside. Racial, inclusion, socioeconomic. Break those down by modeling a different type of person on the inside of the walls. Number 3, change the issues around violence simply by providing positive programming that gives people a chance to really feel themselves, learn, and educate. And 4th, and most important for us, was to raise the awareness about the humanity behind the walls. And we did that by bringing in the teaching artists, the facilitators, community guests as soon as we could get the departments of corrections to allow us to bring in community guests to any of our productions or any of the performances. And that way you got a chance to actually meet the folks on the inside that you've heard such horrific things about through press and film. I mean, those terrible films about, I never watch any of those films about prison work in any case. And I hope what this film does is to each and every one of you to think more about the prison system, the mass incarceration that America is known for. We are the world leader in incarcerating our own. 2 million people behind walls of prisons and jails with little chance of getting out. More than 60%, as Brandon said earlier, returned to prison nationwide in the first 3 years. RTA's less than 3% returned to prison. Why? Positive programming, a chance to really get in touch with who you are as a human being, the authenticity, work with people, learn skills that you can use inside the walls and outside the walls. I want each and every one of you to think more about this incredible mass incarceration. We spend millions of tax dollars keeping people in prison. And studies have proven that public safety doesn't change one iota by putting more and more people in prison, and yet we continue to put them in prison. Parole has to change. Prison systems have to change. You can do that by electing the right officials who are not afraid of being soft on crime. You can do this by being concerned and interested about what we're known around the world as the worst incarceration country in the world. And for all those folks who come home, thousands of them every year, give them a second chance if they've proven that they have changed themselves. And those second chances are which will give us tax-paying, law-abiding, and productive citizens who will help our country grow and change and be. So please, do your part. Educate yourself and learn.
Clarence, when we shot this, we shot about one day in Sing Sing, and a lot of the interiors were in Downstate Correctional Facility, which is a facility that it's a New York State prison that was shut down just before we went in, so it was vacant. But you and all of our alumni cast had been incarcerated in there at some point in your bid. Yes. What did that feel like, and how did you handle that?
Well, actually, in one of the scenes that you just watched, when I was in my cell by myself and I grabbed the script and started reading it, I was actually in a cell that was right downstairs from a cell I occupied while I was in this prison. And going back inside the prison, it's a lot of apprehension, a lot of, you don't want to, even a caged dog don't want to go back in a cage. So to voluntarily put on prison gear, put on them greens that so identify you as a criminal. It was a lot of apprehension to that. I didn't really want to do it, but the message that needed to get through this movie to the general population and to the brothers inside too. The message to you is that the people in prison are just that. They're human beings. They're prisoners, but they're people. And people have the capacity to change. People have the capacity to grow. But if you take the humanity away from them, or if you have prisoners that are viewed by you as less than human, of course there's no change. There's no growth. You can't change something that's not human. So the humanity that you extend to each other, you can extend that to the individuals behind the wall too, because they didn't stop being human when they got sentenced. They're still human, and they have the ability to change, to grow, depending on how much empathy, depending on how much we pour into them, depending on how human we can make them feel. Because if you keep telling them that they're less than human, then I don't know what you expect them to act like, And to the brothers inside, my message to them is that we're a lot bigger than whatever they call us. But we're going to have to choose ourselves. You cannot wait for the Department of Corrections to correct your behavior. We're grown now. We ain't depending on nobody. We choose ourselves. So this is the message I need them to know. Don't depend on anybody. Start changing your behavior. Correct your behavior now. So that when you get back to society, you can be productive and produce on a level that everybody else does. Join in the fight with everybody else that's on this planet trying to live right and trying to do right by each other. That's what we want to do.
Thank you. So let's take some questions from the audience. Brandon has a microphone over here. And if you can, we only have a few minutes, so if you can keep your questions short, that would give more people a chance.
Hi, I have a comment and then a real quick question. I just left Sing Sing about 5 hours ago, and we'll be back there again tomorrow morning. I will. I am so grateful to RTA. I see the changes. I'm with AVP, Alternatives to Violence Project. My question is, how have the closures, not allowing volunteers to go in, how has that impacted RTA?
I think you're talking about the closures in the New York State system, the prisons that are being closed.
No.
I'm sorry.
The challenges due to staffing, where we can't, the school building's not open, so we can't go in for programs. The chapel's not open.
Right. I must admit, I would have to ask the director of our programming, Charles Moore, who's not here tonight, unless Leslie Lichter, who is the interim.
Well, I can speak a little bit quickly just to say that.
Okay, because I can't speak to that specifically, being out a year plus.
Right, but it has been a problem. We have had a hard time. There's a lot of times that we have had to cancel classes, and it's really super frustrating. But the prisons are understaffed, and it is a really big problem. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Anyone else?
Hi. How do you decide who gets in the program? What do you look for? Characteristics or
Well,
what?
Yeah, I think I'm going to ask you to do it, but no. But let me just say up front that in some prisons, they wanted it to be based upon discipline.
right.
And RTA said, send them no matter what they are. Yeah. This is a member of the steering committees. The steering committees are very special groups of people in the prison who coordinate the program inside the walls. And the important thing about the steering committee is, how do you represent the voice of the community without becoming another layer of oppression?
That's the significant point you got to do, because we don't want to be viewed as another oppressor, just kicking people out and not letting people in for whatever reasons. It's never based on whatever crime you're accused of. It's never based on that. It's more based on, when I got in, it was based on disciplinary, because we had such a large waiting list at this time, because the success of every play, every time we do a play, more people want to join the program. So this created a long waiting list. So now we get to be choosy and picky about who we let in here. You know what I mean? So basing it on disciplinary, at the time I got in, I was in a lot. I was getting in trouble every week. you know. So
Yes.
I was terrible. I was terrible in there.
Yes.
So, but I had seen this play and I seen this creativity up on stage, and it turned back on the artistic part of me, because when I was younger, I was into drawing and painting and creating with my hands. But you know, over the years I suppressed that, because you know that's not what the cool kids do. I was more of a nerd because I like to draw. I wasn't into playing basketball and football. I wasn't an athlete or a jock, so I was a nerd. But I suppressed all that to be with the cool kids. You know, I denied my own nature, basically, to be with some people that really didn't care nothing about me, and I didn't know that at the time. But suppressed all that. Then I get in trouble, get in prison. I see this play in RTA, and it turns back on the artist. The artist turned right back on. I got to be a part of this. What I got to do? What I got to do to get in here? Well, you can't have a ticket for 1 year. Is there any other way I can get in? You know, but I did it. I did the whole year, no tickets, no infractions or anything. Couldn't wait to step to the steering committee. What's up? I'm ready. And I rehearsed and I auditioned and I got in. And it was like the best decision I ever made. You know, while I was in prison, I was like a lifesaver. It saved my life, because the path I was headed down, if I'd have came home the way I was in there, I probably wouldn't be here. I probably wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it. So that change saved my life. Thank you.
I sat here with a lot of emotion. Question becomes, where do you go next? What's the distribution plan for it? Too many of our youth need to hear and see it. Yeah. And so my question is, where do you go next? And how do you get more, and I hate to say this, but it's true, too many black men are in prison.
Yes, sir.
And our young black youth need to see what it's like on the other side, yeah, so that they can have a choice. Is there a way of getting the movie distributed or access to some of our young programs, youth programs, in order for them to see it?
Well, yeah, that's
Beloved.
Thank you, beloved. Yeah, well, we're working on that right now. Like I said, I work with at-risk teens. This is what I do. I have a program called Successful Steps right here in Westchester County, and I've been going all over the place. I've been doing this for the past 6 years. I go into communities that people really don't want to go into, because you've given up on that community. You think that there's no help and there's no saving them. You just leave them to be. And you know, I go into these different communities and I chop it with the kids. I bring basketballs. I bring rappers. I bring other individuals who have a social message of change and positivity. And this is how it starts. So what we're going to try to do with the movie is try to get them, you know, after it dies down, Oscars and all this stuff right here. I want to use it as
No joke.
No joke.
yeah, Oscars. I said, yeah. After that, what we want to do is use it as a educational tool. We need to use it as an educational tool. Take it around the country to different prisons, to different juvenile homes, or you know, at-risk teens, the people that really need it. You know, to dispel that myth that jail is a rite of passage, prison is a rite of passage. We got to dispel that myth, because everybody that thinks that, when they get to downstate, that idea goes right out of their head. They know already this is not what that was about right there. You know, this is not a rite of passage. You got tricked. You got played into thinking that. Me too. I got played into thinking that, because that's all I saw in my neighborhood. That's all I saw. I saw drug dealers. I saw stick-up kids, number runners. So these are my heroes. These are the individuals I looked up to. This is who I aspired to be, because I didn't see nothing else. So like you said, exposure, give them more options, give the youth more things to choose from. And this is what I learned. If I had been exposed to the art a long time ago, possibly would not have went to prison. If I'd have knew I had a knack for acting and I had an ear for Shakespeare, If I'd have knew that, if somebody would have exposed that to me earlier, I could have made some different choices and some different decisions.
Can I just add one thing to that, please? That it isn't just up to Clarence and formerly incarcerated who are called credible messengers and are being used wherever they can be. It's up to, I'm sorry, each and every one of you. We have to change. There got to be more social service programs. There has to be more realization that the underserved, undereducated, marginalized folks who are people of color are really taking it on the chin again and again. It's up to us to change that. It's not just up to them. The battle is ours. This is our country and our society. So please, think about this and see how you can help change. Yeah.
Exactly. We're at, okay, so we have to wrap this up. We will, though, continue the conversation outside upstairs with these guys. But I just wanted to thank Bedford Playhouse and this entire Bedford community for supporting us for 28 years. This film has really shown a national spotlight on RTA and our mission. And it's opening doors for us to be able to go into more prisons, to be able to bring this programming to more people. But opening doors isn't enough. We actually need money in order to actually bring it into these places. So really would love your support. There are QR codes and everything out there in the lobby. But you know, for all of you who have worked alongside us for these many years or worked with us, you know that these programs, they do transform lives. They do reduce recidivism, and they do build communities. It's a no-brainer. And so I hope that you all spread the word. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you outside.